what are your book recommendations for the guys watching? Name up to 3 books if you want to.
I mean, there's so many great books. Can I name more than three?
Okay, fuck it.
I'll just go through. Okay, so The Rise of Superman is a really amazing book about flow states, and it breaks down the science of flow states. So one thing that's interesting about RSD is they kind of started talking about being in state, but there's actually science for it. And there's the book breaks down the science of being in state. Like I think RSD, I don't know if the book came out first or RSD started talking about first. I think it was right around the same period. But yeah, there's like actual science to it, and it's I mean I could go into it. I've read this book many times, but I'll just let people read for themselves. I think autobiographies can be good. Arnold Schwarzenegger's first book, Total Recall, it's an amazing autobiography that I've read like 3, 4 times. Super inspiring. The first Elon Musk autobiography I think is quite good by Ashley Vance. The second one, I'm still reading. I don't have an opinion on it yet. Atomic Habits by James Clear is a really great book. Talks about how like actually there's a misconception that like your success will be as a result of motivation. Actually, your success is a result of your habits. And once you form habits, it's actually very easy to become successful. It talks about how all this shit that we do in our daily life, which we think we have a choice in, like we're choosing, it's actually most of it is a combination of the habits we formed. And a lot of us have formed habits that don't help us, right? It talks about how to change those habits. A very, very interesting book. I recommend 48 Laws of Power. Definitely good if you're into some Game of Thrones shit like me, or just good for like psychology in general. I think there's a lot of really, really good examples there. I love that book. Yeah, I guess I'll leave it at that for now.
I'll hit 4 fiction books that are quite good, or 3 fiction books, because we're always in the development. But I found recently I've actually changed more to fiction. So
Me
I'm
too.
reading at the moment The Count of Monte Cristo, which is a phenomenal book recommended by Tristan Tate. Also reading I read Ian Fleming's 007, James Bond.
Yeah,
That is phenomenal. He is so much more of a badass than you think it is. Like, guys like smoking 70 cigarettes a day, fucking multiple women. Like, I definitely recommend that book. And then The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. So there's some fiction books that I really love because again, you can get so wrapped up in nonfiction that I think diving into a different reality really helps you take little characteristics from these people that you're reading from, because you're reading, multiple pages on, and you can put them into your personality.
Have you ever read Game of Thrones?
I have not. Recommend?
Yeah, yeah, I have like Game of Thrones tattoos. I'm a huge fan. Yeah, highly recommend. I literally have read all the books like at least 10 times. There's actually a lot of really good lessons if you are, semi-smart. There's a lot of really good lessons for life there, and for what type of approach or strategy works in real life. There's a lot of lessons there actually if you're like able to read between the lines.
Definitely.
I think books massively depend on the phase that you're in and the personality type you have. But if I were to recommend 2 that fit on sort of opposite ends of the spectrum, it would be The Alabaster Girl by Zan Perion. I think guys that don't get any joy out of cold approach, they think of it purely as a numbers game, as a task, as a chore that they have to do to get this result. Zan makes it fun again. So I think for clients that are taking it too seriously and seeing it as something that they have to do and not something that they get to do, the Alabaster Girl can give a sense of the sort of just beauty of the process, the pure enjoyment of being present-minded, walking around, engaging with people, seeing the world for what it is. So that's on one side. And then on the other side, for the guys that are floating on clouds the whole time, I think Pimp by Robert Beck is an incredible book as well. It's incredibly dark. It's incredibly, there's a lot of vulnerability towards the end, but there's just so much raw psychology in there as well. So those would be my 2.
What type of book is Pimp? Is Pimp like a biography or a memoir sort of thing?
Yeah, so Pimp is an autobiography by a guy called Robert Beck, who is one of the foremost pimps in New York. Yeah. It's not Baxter. It's not Baxter Robert Beck. Baxter took his name
not
from
Baxter.
this.
Right.
It's even more confusing than this panel.
No. It was a pimp in New York in like the 1960s.
I know the book.
70s.
Yeah, I know the book. Yeah, that one. Okay. I know. I thought I did Baxter write a fucking memoir. I got you.
Yeah,
no, good book. Good book. It's pretty wild actually.
It's a great book. Yeah.
Yeah. Book recommendations. Just to reiterate, like a lot of the self-help books make you a kind of a psychology hypochondriac, like emotional intelligence, how to win friends and influence people, that kind of stuff can probably be more detrimental. So totally recommend what Playing with Fire said. Any memoir is really good, or autobiographies like Arnold Schwarzenegger, sports stars that you like. Any of these kind of heroic feel-good stories where people just kept pushing, overcoming the odds, and then eventually getting successful. That's the kind of thing that will leave an emotional impression on you, that you want to get out there and, live life and take risks and make the most out of life. Some of my favorite memoirs or autobiographies are this guy called Tucker Max. I don't know if all you guys read that one. Tucker Max, I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. You got this guy who's like 22 years old. He's studying law and he just goes around drinking and having sex with a whole lot of girls. It's ridiculous. Tucker Max, Hope They Serve Beer in Hell, Assholes Finish First, and Hilarity Ensues. There's those three. There's one book about neuropsychiatry, which is more like the science of the chemistry of your brain, called The Male Brain by Luann Brizendine, and another book called The Female Brain by Luann Brizendine. But the male brain explains these different hormonal phases that we go through adult life, that helps you to understand why you feel overwhelmed when you're 23, why you feel bulletproof when you're 26, why you feel super clear when you're 29, and why you feel paternal when you're 33 or 34. So I thought that was really good, because then you can kind of understand the chemistry going on inside of your brain in the same way like childhood versus adolescence. There are these other phases that's really good to know. And that's purely chemistry that dictates your body, rather than conjecture psychology of emotional intelligence or something like that. So there's my input. Yeah. Memoirs and Tucker Max is really fun and really brilliant, very empowering.
I will definitely second the Tucker Max recommendation. Those books are great, and there's no book that will get you motivated to go out like reading Tucker Max's first book, I Hope They Serve Beer in Hell. There's literally, I can't think of any other book that made me as motivated to go out and drink, to be fair, but there's nothing wrong with the book. To like party and fuck girls, but like his book, yeah. And it's also really fucking funny. It's really, really funny stuff. He's actually a really solid author.
Alrighty, is that everyone?
Markus,
I think one more has got to be Psycho Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz.
Oh, that's a really good one too. Yeah, I love that book.
Yeah, or reality transurfing. Another one, crazy.
Yeah, great recommendations. I just add on to that just make sure when you're like reading these books and you do feel inspired and you're trying to learn things from it, like implement everything, right? Because I think, especially when it comes to self-help books, there's a lot of guys that read them, they feel really inspired, they get like a really strong like dopamine hit and it feels great, and you're like, yeah, this is really cool, I'll do this one day, and then it never fucking happens. So that's why there's a book called something about rejection, maybe Rejection Proof or something like that. I read a while ago. It's a really short book. It's just basically about a guy that went out there and every single day just did something that he tried to essentially get rejected through. And it's a really good book when it just talks about like going out there and just taking action. And so, yeah, that would be just my advice. I mean, typically I love podcasts like Human Lab, things like that, especially the science-backed ones. I typically sit here and read like articles and literature reviews instead of books. But yeah, when it comes to all these books that you're going to read, make sure that you're implementing everything that you're learning from them.
You don't want to be a self-development bro.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, 100%.
Like the power of now, bro. Do you remember Sam, like Owen, just like Tyler, just berating you, like, dude, you should read, what's his fucking name? Toll. Read more Toll. Like, yes, Owen, I read the fucking book.
I hate
it's so
yeah. I didn't like that. I hated it. I didn't get through it. I thought it was dog shit, honestly, if I'm being honest. I
agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
But same as what Sam said. Same as what Sam said. I read it like probably in a different time in my life. Hit a lot better. So sometimes they're just seasonal books, I reckon. I always give it a go. Give it a second go. But I can understand that. I remember it the first time, Alex. I was like, this is...
Owen, yes, sir. Fuck. I'll read the fucking book. Fine, I'll read it again. Read Toll, bro. Yeah, man, I gotcha. All right, Ice, fire away. Next one.
Oh, okay. What is your favorite city or actually, let me just add my book recommendation. Of course, my own book, The Message Game, but of course I would say that. I'm not much of a reader actually, but only recently I put time into it. I organized my life through Google Calendar. So now I read for 1 hour a day for 4 days a week. But I'm a fucking redneck, so I never read many books until the last like 4 years, maybe. I'm serious. But if I could give one recommendation, I personally really liked The One Thing by Gary Keller. That's more of a business and productivity book, but just like I said, I organized my entire life through Google Calendar. That's pretty much for you if you're just like me. If you're like a very organized person, or very serious with business and your time, then I really loved that book. That was very uh practical advice, let's say.